Your perfect day starter starts right now. Another beautiful Monday morning is upon us. Good morning and welcome to the Morning Brief. I'm Kayode Okikilo. A lot of morning in that introduction.
Now you're the one with the rhymes this morning. Welcome to your perfect day starter. I am Bukola Koka.
And I'm Jeffrey. As always, we'll bring you up to speed with happenings around the country, around the world, and in the polity. Thank you, as always, for being part of it. It's almost the end of the month. We're counting down to the end of 2025. Guys, we're ready. When does January come?
It's how the year does its thing, really. One moment, it's the 1st of January. The next, it's December already. And we hope that you're making the days count. You know, last year, we stayed on and reported that boat mishap in Niger State. It was November last year that we had that boat mishap that killed almost 30 people in Niger State. And that raised concerns about water transportation, safety, overloading. And it was a big debate then. And I mean, with the kind of conversations we had, with the kind of, we spoke with government, even the president put out statements and all of that. But here we are again. At least about 13 people have died in a boat mishap in Niger State. And that's a confirmation from the State Emergency Management Agency. The boat is carrying 39 persons, capsized in Shiro local government area of the state on Saturday. So we have updates. 13 people have been confirmed dead now. In fact, one of the people who had been declared missing, the body was found and identified just yesterday. Again, questions have been asked. What exactly happened this time around? And, well, the suspects are there, overloading. Yes, it was said that there was turbulence on the waters, or at least it's suspected that that's also a factor that caused this. But you can't rule away the safety measures. It is really sad because these people have just water to apply to go to their communities. It's the only option they have, and the least that they expect from government and regulators is to ensure that those safety measures are enforced, not just implemented, enforced. And I recall then we were talking about Waterways and how they lacked the right officials in terms of even manpower and expertise to ensure enforcement. But here we are again. It is a sad tale. A lot of bodies are still being searched for. Search and rescue is on. But at this moment, maybe it's not search and rescue anymore. Maybe it's more like recovering the bodies. And if you look at the number of the people that died and the breakdown, you see that women were 8, 3 men, and 2 children from what we have, guys.
It's a very unfortunate development time and again. And I will tell you for free that this may not be the end within these areas. I grew up partly in communities where I come from. We're from the riverine area. And some of these things you see happen, as you said, if there is no enforcement, it's something that people have gotten used to as a way of life, traveling without all of this safety measure or wearing what do you call that thing now? The life jacket and all of that. In parts of the country, if you grew up around the riverine area, you understand. They get used to it, they understand the water, they understand how it works. So some people become so used to it and they always feel that this is just every other day until nature's wrath comes through in an unprecedented manner. So on one hand, it's not just enforcement. It's also an appeal to the people to understand that their lives are quite important. There has to be an understanding amongst the people themselves. If there's a way the community can rally to say, these are the measures. It's not just government coming in. The community themselves have to come together to say, there has to be a measure for us to stop dying carelessly and recklessly. If there's a measure to stop us from dying, which is basically wearing all of this life jacket or whatever measure it is that can help when these things happen, is going to be important. Now we are recording. Remember the other time it was flood incident in Mokwa, and now this one. So it's just like the area is prone to one issue or the other. local government authorities, this is where they come in. This is not a federal government problem. I dare to say maybe not even a state government problem. This is a local government issue within that area, within the locality of that place, to say, look, I know you're used to this water body. You would like to travel without jacket. Some even feel it's inconveniencing to wear that thing. I'm talking from experience. But you do not know when nature will behave in a certain way that even the best of your skills cannot save you, so that we don't have you as a statistic, just like we have, but our thoughts and our prayers and our sympathies with the families of those persons or the families that have been affected by this very, let's call it an avoidable loss.
Indeed, Jeffrey, that's a fine way to hang it. It's an avoidable loss. And Kade, you were talking about the one we reported last year, November, also from Niger State. And I recall that we obtained an exclusive video of that boat from last year when it was traveling before the accident, and we could see how overloaded it was. And, you know, it begged the question, it unsettled the imagination how people could load themselves into such a small boat and, you know, travel, seeing the obvious danger involved. Now, whether it's a local government or a state government or even a federal government challenge, that's another kettle of fish entirely. I believe it's a joint intervention that should, you know, come to solve the challenge of water transport when we know that indeed there is a potential for commerce in that space. In Kwara State, for instance, when a boat mishap happened in 2023, a total of 108 persons died in that boat mishap, I believe in Pategi community. Prior to the November incident, also in Niger State, I believe in Bajibo community, about 44 persons died. Now, if you look at the videos that we're seeing on the screen now, there are no boat jetties. That means that boat operators are operating without regulation. Last year, when we had that conversation with the Inland Waterways Authority, it came to light that there were only 300 marshals manning waterways across the country. Now, what can 300 marshals do when we have a very large expanse of waterways, of rivers across the country? In Niger State, for instance, it is said that farmers need to, you know, travel via boat in order to get to their farms. In Niger State, in Kwara State, I believe, that the roads are bad in some communities, and therefore the people have to resort to water transport in order to avoid the bad roads. So it is a government intervention, whether it's the local government or the state government or the federal government. We need more marshals manning the waterways across the country. I cannot forget also that when we had that conversation with the Inland Waterways Authority, there was an incident recorded in Lagos on the waterways when certain boats were said to have collided, and that particular interview drew international concern, not just, you know, at home here, but Nigerians abroad reacted to that interview. We cannot continue to have this particular conversation about something that government can solve, and we know that indeed there is increased allocation to the states. So why don't we have jetties springing up, just as we have in Lagos, in other states of the Federation, when there's a potential for commerce? Why must we continue to lose lives until we realize the folly of failure of intervening in what can benefit not just the government, but also the people? Guys.
So something to chew on and to act upon while search continues. This is something we'll keep you updated on all through the day. But let's get right into what more we have for you on the show today. Well, the Super Falcons Mission X has been completed. Mission possible right now. And you know, for a lot of people, it was something they really needed. That win was not just for the Super Falcons. It wasn't just for football lovers. It was for Nigeria as a whole. So yes, we'll be walking you through the road to their journey. And of course, what is next? Mission X, tick. What next for the Super Falcons? We're celebrating them big time. I know Bukola wanted to I'm glad you're wearing green, by the way, in celebration of the Super Falcons.
Yeah, I had to breach the fashion rule today to wear green because Kylie and Jeffrey would not let me tie green gilly this morning to celebrate the girls. Congratulations, girls. All, you know, the entire team made Nigeria proud.
Okay.
It was a beautiful moment to watch on Saturday.
We're going to come to that in just a moment, as I'm high on that already. So let's talk about other things we'll be doing on the program. The back and forth over issues around distribution of projects across the country has gotten this war of words between Rabiu Kwankwaso in his camp and the presidency, who have even reeled out some of the projects from the minister to one of the spokespersons of the president. So, just like accusations around political appointment lopsidedness, do we have also an inequitable distribution of projects across the country by the government of Bola Tinubu? Well, that is a conversation we'll be having today with our guest on the program.
And that's not all. We touch on a very controversial subject yet again, as we have done in the past. It's about genetically modified organisms, GMO. So if the gene of food crops are altered, what is it for you? Do the concerns, do the odds outweigh the benefits of increased yields, you know, what's that benefit also about, you know, pesticides, avoiding, you know, the crops being, you know, eaten up by pests? So what's it for you? Do the odds outweigh the benefits, or do the benefits outweigh the odds? We'll speak with the regulator this morning as well on the program, just to keep the conversation going, and of course to keep the education going as well.
Absolutely, that's what we need more at this time, because there are lots of things flying around. What does science say? What does common sense say? What does data say? All of those things we'll bring together and speak to. But let's take a look at how the front pages are reporting the stories from the weekend in a moment. Please stay with us. Affairs analyst as we walk through the front pages. Good morning, Mr. Kintobi. I'm not sure which you're celebrating more, Nigeria's win or England's win.
The girls did us proud yesterday. I mean, I don't think that can compete, anything else can compete with that, especially coming back from 2 down to where pretty much everyone had assumed it was a done deal and it was over with. And they overcame adversity and came from behind and did us all proud. I don't think anything can compete with that today in terms of good news for Nigeria.
There you go. I mean, everybody has something to cheer, and that's great. That's the power of sports. But let's go into politics, Mr. Kitobi. I hate to just poop the party. But New Telegraph is where we're starting off with this morning. And yes, politics is still in full gear, and we're not in 2026 yet. Talk more 2027. And that's how New Telegraph leads 2027. Tinubu, Atiku, Obi, Kwankwaso, others gearing up for epic battle as scramble for Buhari's 12 million votes begins. They can try, but odds favor Tinubu, Tanko Yekesai. Coalition won't work unless North allows South access to power. On Anuju, pages 2, 10, and 11. 3 pages, Mr. Akitobi, on inside the New Telegraph today. I don't know, much ado about this, or this is inevitable at the end of the day. And this talk around 12 million votes, is it ever going to go away?
Well, what is interesting is that political activity is picking up this early in the day. We are still 2 whole years away from the general elections, and things have picked up so much momentum already, which is unusual, especially in a second term of an incumbent or an incumbent running for a second term. Usually it's almost a given that the incumbent has a massive advantage over everybody else, to where the competition is generally lukewarm, especially if the incumbent is viewed as performing admirably. So for this to have started this early, first of all, there are a number of powerful players. Like you said, there's the president himself, there's former Vice President Atiku, who's tried several times and wants to continue to try. There's Peter Obi, who did well in his last outing and who has maintained a major national presence, which is what Atiku has failed to do over the years. This time, since 2023, Peter Obi has stayed in the news and has kept himself relevant, and seemingly he will be a force to be reckoned with in 2027 as well. Then there's the Kwankwaso factor for the Kano votes, which, as we know, in the last election, all of Kano, which holds the largest number of voters in the country, all of Kano went for NNPP. So if any of the players can actually win Kwankwaso over and garner his votes, that will give a major head start to anybody. Then there's the X factor of late President Buhari's 12 million votes, which have been a lock for whatever party President Buhari was representing. Those 12 million votes have been a lock for him since 2003. So the question is, will those 12 million votes dissipate and go in different directions, or will they remain a homogeneous block that will go in one particular direction? Well, President Buhari is not here to guide them. He's not here to motivate and inspire them and push them in one direction or the other. So the question becomes, is there a rallying force, especially in the north, that can galvanize those 12 million votes and make them all head in one direction? I'm not sure that I see anybody with the charisma or with the kind of loyalty inspiring character or personality that President Buhari had that was able to hold that voting bloc together. But if anybody could poach those 12 million votes, any of the players, it would definitely make a difference. But the one thing that's clear is that 2027 is going to be very keenly contested. And I think that speaks probably to the vulnerability of the incumbent, that the political gladiators sense that he may be on the ropes, to use a boxing term, that perhaps public perception in terms of the economy, particularly insecurity, that those things make him vulnerable. Otherwise, you wouldn't see this degree of passion and fervor to try and displace him starting this early down the road, especially with the power of incumbency, the vast treasury and resources at the incumbents' beck and call. Those kind of things generally discourage competition, especially when the incumbent is going for a second term. But to see this degree of people throwing their hats in the ring and really wanting to I mean, look at even just the coalition. There are 3 or 4 avowed contenders. There's Atiku himself, there's Amechi, there's potentially Obi, even though Obi is now starting to waffle within that coalition and may eventually make his way out of there, because I think he's starting to see that perhaps the whole thing is already rigged in Atiku's favor for him to be the coalition's candidate. We don't know. But I've heard some things come out of Obi recently that makes me question whether he's going to stay in that coalition very long. So 2027, the game is on. Definitely it will be an epic battle, a battle of epic proportions. And I think at the end of the day, it's up to us Nigerians. I think we're a bit too apathetic about being engaged in the political process. I think it's up to the electorate more to be more engaged and more active and more present and more conscious and more politically aware and educated for us to be the ones to make the final decision about how that battle is going to play out.
All right, maybe let's go to the next paper. A similar thing is going on the pages of the news, Nigerian News Direct. Kwankwaso not defecting to APC will contest 2027 presidency. NNPP chieftain insists claims of alliance with Tinubu are fake, according to Onu. Says visit to Villa was for event, not political talks. So that's scramble yet again, that claim. Right now, what is going on is a political hot hair. Everybody trying to see how they can liquidate the other as far as perception and imagery is concerned, while the borderline work is ongoing underneath. But Mr. Akintobi, just as an outlier to the conversation, perhaps even within the centrifuge, if you allow me, is if we get back to that table again of the 4 that contested the last time, with a 4th distant and then the other 3 contenders, is there anything strategically different from them?
Well, see, ordinarily, competition is good. Competition gives a lot more options. Competition lets everybody brace up and do their best. But in this particular case, competition is bad for the opposition because what it does is it fractionalizes the votes. It marginalizes each individual. So Kwankwaso strategically has a key role to play, but by declaring and running for presidency himself, he doesn't have what it takes to win it on his own. He's going to rob the coalition, or whoever is going to represent the coalition is going to rob them of his voting bloc. And yet at the same time, he doesn't have enough to scale the hurdle, as we saw from President Buhari over the years, that in spite of his 12 million votes, until he collaborated with other elements that were able to deliver other parts of the country to him, he couldn't win. I think Kwankwaso is bedeviled by the same issue, that it's okay to have all the votes in Kano, but you don't have national spread. I don't think anybody outside of Kano knows much about Kwankwaso or has any knowledge about his political beliefs, his ideology, what he has to offer, or who he even is. I'm sure if you go to some hinterland in the southeast or Kitikpupa in the southwest or some areas of the middle belt and you mention Kwankwaso's name, some people have never heard of him before. So the question is, how badly do people want the incumbent out of office? How badly do we want a change in Nigeria? If it's bad enough, then the major players will all subjugate their individual ambitions and come together in which the whole is greater than the sum of the individual parts. If you look at the collective of a Kwankwaso, an Obi, an Atiku, and even an Amechi, and you aggregate their supporters and their votes, they could unseat the president. But I think individually, if all four of them were to find platforms and run independently or independent of each other, I don't think any of them could even compete or even come close to the president. So when you talk about strategy and Kwankwaso saying he's not defecting to the APC, he will contest the 2027 presidency, he'll probably do it as NNPP. He will make a showing like he did last time, but it'll just be a drop of water in an ocean. It won't make a difference. So the question is, how badly do we want to change the current administration? If we want it bad enough, we know what to do.
Well, indeed, Mr. Kitobi, the president will rejoice over the division. He had said in the past that he's happy about the disarray in the opposition and he wouldn't, do anything, wouldn't help them to put their house in order. Let's see how fast the opposition figures will learn from the 2013 APC merger experience. But let's take a breather from politics now and go to this Nigeria. This Nigeria takes a different, chose a different path and, looks at the economy. 21 trillion naira loan approval. Go softly on borrowing, experts tell National Assembly. And there are a few insights there. It raises hope for accelerated development. Lawmakers defend action. Opposition disagrees, says it's bad for Nigeria. Of course, we also heard that coming through from the NNPP over the weekend, the concern about the excessive borrowing. But what's it for you, Mr. Kitobi, knowing that other economic indicators, are telling a different story about the direction that Nigeria is headed, even though it hasn't trickled down to the people at the grassroots?
The thing about borrowing is that borrowing inherently is not a bad thing, provided you've done your due diligence and you've run the numbers and you see that you can pay it back without paying. Borrowing in and of itself can accelerate development. The problem with borrowing in the past, and let's remember, we complained about borrowing in the past administration, and this current administration has outborrowed the last one by about tenfold. Although, of course, the devaluation of the naira played a role in that, but in real dollar terms, the current administration has actually outborrowed the previous one. And even then, we were crying about too much borrowing, too much borrowing, too much borrowing. And here I fault the National Assembly, because I think the National Assembly is supposed to ask the tough questions. What do you need this money for? What are you going to do with it? What value and benefit will it bring to Nigeria, as opposed to just rubber stamping the request? That is why there's so much negative perception about the National Assembly, because whatever the president brings before them, they seem to just rubber stamp and sign and approve. They're not asking the tough questions. So this 21 trillion naira loan, what do we want to do with the money? I have always said that borrowing is not inherently a bad thing, provided, first of all, it goes for the purposes intended. Too much of the past and a lot of the cases you see in the public domain today with the EFCC, the ICPC, the SFIU, all of those cases are related to pilfering the public purse. A lot of that money, a lot of those resources were borrowed, and the money never went towards what it was intended for. That is the biggest calamity, not the borrowing in and of itself. Because remember, the lenders themselves will do their due diligence and make sure that you can pay. They don't want to lose their money. They want to get their money and get their interest. So they've already run your credit check. They've already checked your cash flow and your income statement to make sure you can afford to repay. They've checked your collateral, which in our case is usually very easy because it's just oil that we use, and we forward sell the oil. And they've done their geographic and geometric studies to see how much oil is underground. Is there still enough oil underground to adequately make sure they'll get the money back? And the answer is yes. So they're quick to throw money at us because they know they will get their money back. So that in and of itself, the fact that the lenders are willing to give it to us should already tell us something, that means the country has the ability to pay it back. Because no lender, especially internationally, is that naive or simple to the point of not confirming that they can get their money back plus interest. So the fact that the loan is available to us tells me that we can afford it. So what is more important is for the National Assembly and every other responsible agency to make sure that the money goes to do what it is intended for, and that it isn't siphoned, it doesn't leak, a snake doesn't eat it in a cupboard somewhere, and all kinds of funny things don't happen. That to me is the issue. Let economists go ahead and debate the propriety of borrowing versus, there's an argument on both sides. Just like the law, economists will always find people on one side and enough people on the other side, some saying this is good, some saying it's bad. Let them carry on with that debate. But the point for us is that as long as the money is having an impact, a positive impact on the people of Nigeria, are we seeing its effects on the streets?
And that's really at the core of the National Assembly's oversight function, as you mentioned, Mr. Kintobi. Yes. But since we're talking National Assembly and the nation's capital, Abuja Inquirer also has something very interesting that you'd expect will cause a lot of debate and controversy in the coming days and weeks. 20 years after Wike revisits sale of FG houses in Abuja, sets up committees to clean up records. We see opposition figures are claiming that this is a political witch hunt. But just for mention, because of time, Mr. Akintobi, there's a page 2 story on the front page. It's in green, actually, just on top of 20 years. You see 2 core members win in skirt row over NYC, gets 10 million naira in damages. So, well, there's been a lot of debate about this. Allow people if they want to wear skirt, allow them wear skirt for NYC. If they want to wear the trousers, allow them. So it looks like things might be changing, at least properly, in the coming days with this court win. Some have said way to go, allow them. In fact, there's the hijab conversation and all of that. I just wanted to mention that so people get an update on that particular story. But this is where we draw the curtains, Mr. Kintobi. I hate to keep you for much longer because we could go on and on. But it's always a pleasure having you walk us through the front pages. We've been speaking with Mr. Dayo Akintobi, Public Affairs Analyst, on a newspaper review this morning. Thank you for joining us, sir, and have a great day.
My pleasure always.
So let's go to the back page all the newspapers with sports. Oh yes, the Super Falcons with Mission X. And our correspondent, Cecilia Omorgbe, has been covering this from day one. And someone has been praying that we don't have her back home until the girls win the cup. So it is my pleasure to hand over this conversation to the woman in green this morning. Duke Barakbo, as Jeffrey will call it. I will call over to you now.
He's wearing green wristwatch.
Yeah, I'm a member of the Super Falcons team this morning.
Honorary member.
Left fullback, Bukola Koka. Cecilia, it's so good to see you, and our prayers have been answered. We didn't want you back home until you were going to come with the girls and the trophy. It was a thrilling encounter yesterday, Cecilia. What went through your mind, particularly...
That was 2 days ago. Right?
Yeah, 2 days ago, rather, on Saturday. What went through your mind, particularly when the Moroccans had their first share at goal scoring? Not just one, two. Cecilia?
It was even when the first goal was scored, it was like, you know, like the crowd first. But when they scored the first goal, you know, where do I even start? Like, there was just this shock in everybody's face. It was like, what's going on? Because I had the journalists sitting around me. You know, you had some from EXPN, the Athletics, because they actually wanted a story, you know, 10th title. So some of them were supporting us, and the Ghanaians who actually came, that because we went to support them when they beat South Africa in the third place match, they were also around me. They were looking, what's going on? I mean, this is what they Super Falcons, this is what they do. Strike first, and then the whole crowd is silent. But yeah, it was kind of shocking. But I knew the Super Falcons that they would come, but because we have a coach who he knows how to make changes when it's needed. I think it was that belief in the coach. And also, I looked at the bench, and I looked at the players that were there. I said, come on, any player from the bench can actually come and make, you know, a difference. And that actually happened. So I think the belief was still there, but it was a shocker at first. Then second half started. After the break, so when they came on, so there was this vibe returned to the team, because the goals that were scored were just some silly mistakes that they made, and the Moroccans, you know, capitalized on that. So the first 5 minutes coming in the second half, so like they were now settled. So I knew that if something was going to come, and the coach, you know, his usual way, made his usual changes, and of course, the rest is history.
Yeah. History, pleasant one at that. Speaking of those who connected the dots for this particular part of history, Okoronkwo, there's a Jemilusi. Asisat herself has reportedly gone on socials to celebrate Deme and Abiodun. Cecilia, who are you singling out as the girls of the match?
Oh, it's actually hard, really, because every one of them, from the beginning to the end, played a crucial role. The only players that didn't play happens to be Choma Okafor. She was injured when she came in. She was injured at first until, you know, she got better later in the tournament. Then the other two reserve goalkeepers are the only ones who didn't get a chance. Every player who played, I mean, both the ones that didn't play, there was just this synergy, this unity among these players, this love. You know, when you have players who are, all of them are hungry, even when they're not playing, they're cheering the other players for victory. So it's actually hard to pick a player of the tournament. But I think Rasheedat Ajibade obviously deserved that. She was not just leading from the front on the field, she was also leading at the back, her encouragement, you know, to the players, her talks with the players. Each time, you know, she says, anytime they're down, there's just this thing, and look, you girls can actually make history, because Rasheedat was part of them that won the one in 2018. So she knew what it means to actually win this title. And then you have Asisat Oshola, who more like she allowed the other girls to shine. Who were thinking, people who were watching felt she was selfish, especially when she stormed out when she was during the substitution against Botswana. Some people felt, I mean, she took it too far. But this is someone who allowed the younger ones to shine. I mean, the encouragement, the way she talked with the girls. She always say, this is where she says, my girls. You know, she refers to the players as my girls, and that tells you the leadership quality she also has, not just on the field of play, but also outside. So it's actually hard to pick. But overall, yes, Rasheedat Ajibade was named player of the tournament, well deserved. Esther Okoronkwo is another player you can also pick out because, 5 assists, 2 goals, that's it. A big one. But for you to have a captain, actually player of the match 3 times, it tells you that, yes, there's something about Rasheedat Ajibade, her leadership quality, and she played every minute of every game, from the very first game till the last game. So she, well-deserved player of the tournament. But on that final day, of course, Esther Okoronkwo, you definitely can rule her out. I mean, she's just a gem, a rare gem that Nigeria, we're just lucky to have her play for this country.
Cecilia, Esther's performance, and literally all of them, but Esther was like a motherboard on that pitch, and they were able to connect all the dots. Brilliant performance. But let's talk about 2 things that we must not forget, so that we use it to pepper them. 10 times. That's the part I'm interested in. Let's remind the rest of Africa that these girls are winning 10 times. Maybe tell the rest of Africa what this means for us and these girls. And how many of these girls you see this perhaps may be their final outing as far as donning the jersey of the Super Falcons is concerned?
It's actually hard to say because we have another WAFCON next year. So I think maybe after next year, after the World Cup in 2027, we can actually say maybe 1 or 2 may want to leave the scene. But from everything I saw, maybe Tochukwu Oluwaye, I don't know, because she has, since Chiamaka came on, she's taken the shirt. But we haven't found another goalkeeper, that is like a second as good as a second, to her. So second choice will definitely still remain Tochukwu Oluwaye, except another one is found before that time. But every other player on the field, I don't see anyone actually leaving the scene anytime soon. Because also naturally, this assist WAFCON title. Assistant to Shola is a 4th, and Assistant to Shola is someone you can't say, oh, she needs to leave the scene. Because what she does off the field and on the field of play, you definitely can't, take that away from her. Her contribution, her leadership role, what she does with the girls alone, they will tell you, look, if we didn't have her, maybe some of us would have lost hope. Because when you have that vociferous crowd, the shouts, the booing, the lasers, everything, you actually need experience in that aspect. Assistant was there when they did that in 2016. 2016 scenario was actually similar to what the Moroccans did, except without the laser, of course. That's the only difference. The crowd in the Cameroon in 2016 was even more than this. As at 12 noon or 1 p.m., the stadium was filled up. You had the president on ground. You had we call them the DSS or the men in black all around everywhere. We couldn't even celebrate the victory. It was that sad. Some journalists who wore green on that, they were looking for shirts to wear on what they were wearing. So now, the hostile environment the Falcons have played in, most of these players, they had like almost eight players that are actually making their debut in this tournament. So it simply means you need these experienced players to be there. So when I hear issues like this player needs to leave the scene, players know, they knew when to leave the scene. Because for them, as long as they have something to contribute, as long as the coach feels you deserve a spot on the squad, you will definitely have that. Nigeria, the talent in the Falcons is so much that you really don't even know who to drop. Because as you're dropping people are still talking about Ngozi Okobi is still needed in this team. That's how talented we have. That's how talented the crop of girls that we have playing for the national team are. So for me, I don't think there's any particular player can say, oh, it's time for you to leave the scene, because each and every one of them contributed from the beginning to the end of this trophy, the one, even when people did not believe in them. I remember the stories that were coming out after the game against Botswana, and then after the game against Algeria, it was worse. And then some people were even calling, what kind of coach do you have? But when you have a coach who, all through the group stage, he did not concede a goal. You have Osina Chogali right there at the back, Halimatu Ayinde. Are these the girls you want to actually leave the scene? No, because clean sheet was kept until the final, apart from the penalty they conceded against South Africa. They that clean sheet until the final of the tournament. Who were responsible for that? So every one of these players who donned the jersey all through the tournament, they all played together. So I don't think there's anyone that can lead the scene at this moment. These girls can still, this team that we have, I mean, they can only get better in 2026.
Well said, Cecilia. And when you talk about the hostilities, it was really sad to see yet again the lasers being directed at their faces, the fake whistles. I mean, it's something I think we spoke about last year. We've spoken about it before time and again, particularly when these competitions hold in North African countries. It's a very sad one, really, and yesterday still happened again. I know that there was an announcement made, 2 days ago rather, there was an announcement made that anyone caught using the lasers will be escorted out of the stadium. Come on, it continued up until almost the end. So I just wanted to mention that because CAF really needs to do something about it. This is 2025. But let's talk about, I mean, the lessons to learn. For some people, I mean, we can build on this. Yes, the president is celebrating them. He's going to host them today, by the way. And some are jokingly saying the FCT minister should start signing their land deeds because they should get a plot or something in the FCT. Some say they should get national honors. The prize money, I think, $1 million, even though for AFCON is $7 million. But what can we learn from this? And this is where I'm going. So we have Nigeria always relying on women for most of our sports competition. Whether it's football, we rely on the Falcons and the rest. Basketball, the Tigers. Athletics, we rely more on women to get us those medals. Shout out to the men, okay? I belong to your camp. But what lessons can we learn from our women so that we can translate it to our men's team? Because we have fantastic athletes who are men as well, Cecilia.
It's very simple, Kaide. Resilience, really. That's what these girls have. Resilience, hunger. And the fact that people really don't take them seriously. That's just a fact. You know, they don't have the best of anything at all. I mean, you just mentioned the prize money, which is ludicrous. And they were even celebrating 1 million. Come on, the last time was 500. It was $500,000. Now it's 1 million. So they celebrated $1 million for the winner of a continental trophy. I mean, Euro is a 4 million, but we're not trying to compare. And when people talk about, they don't pull the crowd. But if we had built on what happened at the World Cup or what happened in 2016, if CAF were really serious about things like, merchandise sponsorship, take the women's game seriously, by now we'll be pulling more numbers, even more than the men. We saw Euros, and we can actually replicate that in Africa. So what the men need is simple, Kayode. It's resilience. Maybe because they have everything, the comfort is there. The girls don't have that, so they have to dig deep. They know that if we don't win this, that's the end. They could easily disband the team and maybe tell the coach to leave. And then the girls, of course, the good thing about them is even when they don't win tournaments, you see that clubs come from them. Before, you could have a crop of home-based players playing, at the WAFCON, but now almost all of them are playing abroad. So it's not hard for the girls playing back home to even get into the team, because as long as you go to the tournament, from under 17 level, under 20 level, players get signed, into foreign clubs from that particular performance. So that resilience that they had, they knew that if they don't perform, there is nothing for them. There's nothing to fall back on. It's their performance. That's what gives them, should I use the word popularity? That's when people know that, okay, these girls are actually playing. People didn't know that WAFCON was going on until they beat Zambia 5-0. That's when it started having, many stars, everybody wishing them. I mean, where were they when the tournament started? We didn't have a phone. There was nothing. No one knew that the Falcons were I won't use the word no one. Most people did not know. Apart from us journalists and of course broadcasters are the ones who knew that the Falcons are, somewhere in Morocco playing a tournament. Most people didn't know. So they had to jump on it when they beat Zambia 5-0 when it was trending. They didn't have a choice. No, they had to recognize them. So these girls seek relevance every time they step on the field of play. But the boys understood that eyes are already on them. Okay, let's just see what we can give, to make Nigerians happy. But that's not what the girls are thinking. They're thinking of how do we showcase what we have? How do we make people take us seriously? How do we make people understand that, yes, we can also play. We can also give this nation joy. So when they have all that running through their hearts, there is no way they'll step on that field of play and then not do something. Let's look at basketball, for instance. I mean, the women, they're going for a fifth title. The men, when was the last time we even celebrated them? Because after the NVBF, current board of NVBF came on, the Kida-led administration, it's been like the guys couldn't take what was going on in the federation. Most of the NBA players, most of them pulled out. So it's not hard for you to get boys together to play, because what is being done, it's not something you as a player would want to witness. You want to speak out. But the girls, they said, okay, yeah, we can still play, and of course get a better club and get a better deal, and maybe get some cash rolling in. And of course, we always say most of these players are breadwinners, so they know that if I have to perform, I know I have to get something. And the only way you can perform is for you to get to the final and win. I believe if the Super Falcons had lost this title, no one would be talking about them.
Indeed. Cecilia, let's just emphasize it for effect, It's 10 trophies against 3. And, perhaps they may need our assistance.
It's not a competition, it's a collaboration.
Yeah, I wanted you to speak. All right, Cecilia,
do we count them? One, assistants counted everything at the stadium.
We'll count with you. Let's count together. 1, 2, 3.
No, before we let Cecilia go, Cecilia, I wanted to find out from you, Cecilia, before we let you go, what would be fair to do for them? 10 times winners, and if you look at Aziza Ashola, 6 times African Female Footballer of the Year. They have crazy record in that team, incredible record. What will be fair from the presidency, not just national award? What will be fair?
I hope maybe what they did to the Super Eagles for winning silver would definitely be fair for them. Yeah, monetary rewards, and of course lands in FCT. Is it kind of who mentioned the FCT minister should be signing the land deeds and everything for the girls? I think that will definitely go a long way. And not just that, yes, monetary rewards, it's fine, land, it's fine. We need a structure to build the national team, really, especially for the women. We have WAFCON next year in 2026. We don't want to be talking about there is no preparation, there is no build-up. We want to see that fanfare. We want to see something. We want to see activations. Companies that have been trying to get crashed on their successes. This is the time for them to actually come out and put that money where your mouth is, and then let's see that support actually coming from everyone. Not just win the win, but build up to a tournament. So World Cup 2027 is coming. WAFCON 2026 is coming. So this is the time for them to start, building. Not just after today, we forget about it and wake up maybe a month to the tournament or 3 weeks to the tournament. That's when you remember that, oh, we still have the Super Falcons going for a title number 11.
And Cecilia, we hope that whatever promises are made will be kept and not delayed. Like the stories we're hearing that Super Eagles from 1991 set, I believe, were just handed over houses, a reward for their effort. But we must anchor at this point. I'm looking forward to lifting you high as you'll be lifting the Super Falcons high when you return home. Our correspondent there, sports correspondent Cecilia Omorogwe, thank you so much for the insights and for your reporting.
Thank you.
Yes, there's more to look forward to on the program. Up next, we'll be touching on politics, this back and forth between the NNPP and the presidency over reported lopsidedness in allocation of budgetary resources to infrastructure development. Stay with us for this one. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. Let's talk some politics around development, or development around politics, whichever is convenient. And that stems from the conversation or the remarks of the former governor of Kano State and the former presidential candidate on the NNPP platform, Rabiu Kwankwaso, when he talked about the fact that he was traveling, I think, all the way to Sokoto, and his experience on the road, and he was actually complaining to the effect that things have to be done differently, more like alluding, if you will, to the fact that, you know, besides the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Road that is being celebrated, a lot more has to be done in the north, because the roads in the north are not quite as good as it should be. And people have interpreted that to mean that he's saying that, look, the federal government has focused more on the south in terms of project distribution as against the north. Well, the presidency has replied from the Minister of Works, Dave Umahi, and one of the spokespersons of the president. So that big question arises as to how well distributed projects are as far as the Bola Tinubu administration is concerned. We're bringing in our guest, Ladipo Johnson. He's NNPP National Publicity Secretary. He joins us right here in Abuja, in our Lagos studio. Thank you so much for coming on the program. And Abdulaziz is a Senior Special Assistant to the President on Print Media. He joins us virtually. Mr. Abdulaziz, thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
All right, Mr. Ladipo, since you stoked the fire, I mean your party leader stoked the fire, I will naturally start from you, so that I'll put things in context from what I guess you would have heard what he said and his allusion to what his remarks are. But in response, Dave Umahi, the Honorable Minister for Works, has said 4 legacy road projects of the Tinubu administration, the north accounts for 52% of the total length, while the south holds about 48%. He went on to reel out, I'm trying to get cited roads like the construction of over 1,000 kilometer of the Sokoto-Badagry superhighway. Whether it's completed or not, that's a different kettle of fish. Noting the Kebbi and Sokoto sections alone accounts for 378 kilometers by 6 lanes, or the 756 kilometers by 3 lanes in the north. And then you can compare that to what goes on in the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Road at just about 30 kilometers on this end of the road has been completed. So that comparison is back and forth. What do you make of, I can say, your principal's remarks and this back and forth?
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Good morning. I believe that you have to put it in context. You know, Senator Kwankwaso was speaking at a stakeholders meeting in Kano. They were preparing for, I think, the constitutional review thing. And he spoke about the fact that his flight was delayed and he had to travel by road from Abuja to Kano, and that it was a difficult journey, as it were. So I think you have to put what he said in context there. And he went on to say that people had made mistakes in the past, that it would seem to others that it was lopsided, development was lopsided. And that didn't remove the fact that, because I saw someone's comment, that why didn't he speak up when Buhari did some road to the railway to Niger, as it were. But basically what he was saying was that even you have to learn from all those. And the caveat he put there was that whatever it is, that the government still has time. This is the time that we have to, you know, start to improve on things if need be. So that is it. And I think that I read what the Honorable Minister said about why people are harping on the coastal road. You know, the humongous sum of that, you know, would tend to switch anyone's thinking that, okay, you're spending so much on this. Is it really that should the priority be on that vis-a-vis maybe roads that, like Kano is a commercial area, you know, it's a commercial hub of the north from Abuja to Kano, Kaduna, things like that. Why don't we fix those and everything? So I don't think there was anything there was no bad intention. He just said it as part of his comments, but it's been picked out, and that's what we're talking about.
Mr. Abdulaziz, so I'm sure you have a response to what Mr. Ladipo Johnson has said. But again, states of road are easy to determine. There is ongoing and then completed. Besides what the minister has said, do you have any other thing you want to add to what the minister has said? Because you're from the north and you speak for the presidency as far as the print media is concerned. But he's saying here that, look, the man was just making remarks based on his personal experience, and he's saying this is a chance for you to do what you have to do to make the north feel you. Some have said that that was a political statement. They even rolled it into the issue of 12 million votes as to who is going to be the next man of the valor. A lot of the manner in that sense, as far as the complexities of northern politics is concerned. What do you make of it, Mr. Abdulaziz?
Thank you once again. Actually, for me, as you said, I'm from the north. I'm actually coincidentally talking to you from Kano right now. And I would say, perhaps, especially with the explanation by the NNPP spokesperson, that the comments were not intended to be this controversial, were more like advisory or some call to action about the need to learn from the mistakes of others in the past. And actually, I watched the video, and if you did, you would actually agree with the spokesperson of the NNPP that it's not like a conclusive or hostile statement by the NNPP leader. But that, be that as it may, as you said, I think there is this notion, the perception out there, which I think it is what Ponkoso himself tried to speak to or pander to as an opposition leader, which is, you can say, is not out of place, that people perceive these issues, especially because there are issues that are increasingly hammered by politicians who are, of course, self-serving, who do it not out of altruism or not out of fact, but out of actually the need to keep whipping the government and also, I would say, overheating the policy. But the minister's statement was clear about it. But also for road travelers like myself, I travel by road a lot. And I will tell you that there are tremendous improvements. There are projects that are ongoing. There are projects that are completed. If, for example, you take the road which this government inherited and completed from Kefi, from Abuja to Kefi, Akwanga, up to Benue, is a very good road. It's recently completed, and travelers on that road now have no nightmares around about potholes or bad condition of road. If you come further afield into the hinterland, you'll see so many roads that are either completed or are being worked on very rapidly. For example, the Abuja-Kaduna-Kano road, which this government inherited, which also dragged for long, the contention around it, especially with Julius Berger, had been broken, and new contractors had been engaged, and they are working assiduously, especially from which is where the problem is, from Abuja to Kaduna, and work is going on very well there. And if you come further afield again, even the road that Ponkoso, His Excellency, the former presidential candidate of NNPP was talking about, perhaps he didn't notice, but I don't know from which end did he flew the road, but you have noticed that there are so many things happening. For example, from Zaria, right now this government is working on the dualization of the road, which used to be single lane from Zaria to Gusau to Sokoto, and work is in progress. And from Zaria, there is another road going to Katsina, which is also being worked on. From Kano to Katsina, from Kano to Maiduguri, the remaining portions, all these places, there are ongoing projects. And I understand the concern or all the talks around the around the second, the coastal highway. But what people fail to also realize is that while you have the coastal highway from Lagos to Calabar, there is also the Sokoto-Badagry Road, which has perhaps more than 70% of it in the north, that is stretching from Sokoto through Kebbi, through Niger, before landing in the south into Badagry in Lagos. And this road is being worked on right now very well, and work is going on simultaneously from all angles. For example, in Sokoto.
Pardon me to quickly come in here, so we can do the back and forth and get a lot of value. So you're actually saying, admitting that there's lopsidedness, but it's in favor of the North.
I'm not going to say whether there is lopsidedness or not.
No, because you agree with what the minister said, that the North has 50+%, 52%.
What I'm saying, one thing that I would want this conversation to drive at is we should look at things as national projects, not as northern or southern projects, which is a major problem, which I hope we will dive into, especially discussing politics, appointments, and projects. Because most important thing is what value do the projects bring? Right. It's just because they are sited in the south or they are sited in the north. What are the economic values of these roads? What are the things? Of course, there is need for justice, there is need for fairness, which I'm sure nobody could accuse this government, honestly, of being unfair to the north or unfair to the south.
And that's a valid point.
Have been cited all over the country.
And that's a valid point to make from that. See them as national projects. But whether or not that is how it is interpreted is another thing entirely, because we know it's the season of politics. Let me come to Mr. Ladipo Johnson now and ask you, when a lot of people watched Senator Kwankwaso speak, yes, what he was talking about was what he perceived as lopsidedness, and he said, I think, that's how he started, saying, I think this. That's what he was saying. But what a lot of people heard was that, wait a minute, does it mean that this planned coalition, because we're using coalition, this planned coalition between the president, the APC, and the NNPP, RMK, has fallen through? That's what a lot of people heard. And it was like a downer. What threw the spanners in the works? Because we thought that this was a union that would be announced very soon to counter the coalition. So does this mean that all is not well in that other coalition that we were thinking would happen?
Really, I really do not know where to begin, because you recall the last time I was here, I told you that a lot of these things we saw just like you did over social media.
No, you are not like us.
No, I'm just telling you.
You're not like other people.
And I heard when you were doing your press review, you spoke about Prince Onu, who's our Deputy National Chairman South, talking categorically that there was no coming together and everything. And I just smiled about it, that if you ask me that, what I will tell you is that maybe he knows that there's no coming together because Senator Kwankwaso hasn't said anything. And maybe
Mr. Justice, pardon me. What people are even saying is that the statement he made in Kano was a tacit way of showing the project of this government.
Yeah.
Because now the Minister of Works has come out to say, oh, we've done 52%. So they're thinking,
No, well, I think, you said it, and the gentleman spoke there. He just said that let's look at it as national, not south, not north and south. And I think basically part of what, if you look at the flip side of what he was saying, it is something like that, because he specifically said that mistakes that have been made in the past, and that even if that was the situation, this was the time for government to begin to do things so that the people in the north would see that there's some sort of even equitable development. But as to, I honestly say, okay, when I've been in Lagos for a while, I spoke to him just 2 days ago. Yeah, 2 days ago. And I said, people said that when you went for a program at the
in
Aso Rock, I think.
Oh, I see.
I think they have a hall or something there, something to do with that Greek.
Oh, the banquet hall.
Yeah. Did you see the president? Because I had phone calls coming in. He said no. You know, so I was like, where do all these things come from? You know, he went for a meeting.
You said, did you see the president then?
Yes.
What if they had met somewhere else?
No, look, we know when
the president has been out of the country.
No, he was in the country.
Come on, Mr. Are you with? You said you've been in Lagos.
Yes.
Are you with him every step of
Hang on. I know when he travels. You understand? I know when he travels. I know whether he's gone to Egypt or gone to this place or that place. You know, after the president's election, when he went to France, we all saw that he went to France. They sat, they met, they talked. You know, when the president got back, I think before the swearing in or after, he met. But I don't think that we've had meetings after that. So it's not always as we get. I don't know where these things come from, honestly. I'm telling you, I don't know where these things come from. You hear things, you read things, and there are times I'm forced to call him. I say, is this the case? And he says, no, you know. So some people somewhere are flying kites. You understand? There was a time you saw posters or flyers or banners of himself and former President Jonathan everywhere. There again, I had to ask, what is going on, you know?
You know, but it's hard to dismiss these talks, particularly, you know, since the rumble within the APC happened just about 2 months ago over the purported plans to drop the current vice president and pick someone from the Northeast. And not long after that, we also heard that there were, you know, potential plans to consider your principle in order to take advantage of the block votes that will come from Kano State in order to, you know, easily help the APC win the election. But since you have said that you spoke with him, and this, you know, was not what exactly transpired when he visited. Let's take it to Mr. Abdulaziz. Mr. Abdulaziz, what does it look like from where you stand? You are the president's aide on the print media. So does this have anything to do with the potential alliance? And perhaps did Mr. Kwankwaso, you know, was his outburst related to the failure of the reported failure of the alliance talks?
Well, I wouldn't want to call that outburst, especially when his own party spokesperson is saying something to the contrary. And also, I don't think the visual evidence of that statement supports that description. But having said that, I wouldn't, you know, politics is something that is quite evolving, that is very fast. There is nothing also, as they say, the saying goes, that is impossible. And sometimes, you know, I don't work for Dr. Kwankwaso, I don't, Senator Kwankwaso, I don't work for him, I don't speak to him, so I don't know why he said what he said. And I wouldn't want to, you know, go about imparting meanings into what I'm not sure of. But, you know, politicians, this is the season, as you said earlier, and politicians do all manner of things, say all manner of things, sometimes for different purposes. It may not be, sometimes what perhaps you and I may think would be the reason or the motivation would actually not be the case. So, as I said, I wouldn't want to be the one to give interpretation to what was all the background to what was said by someone else. If it were the president that said something or did something, I could perhaps give some explanation as to why that statement was made.
Mr. Abdulaziz, you just said moments ago that nothing is impossible. So are you saying that there's a possibility that the negotiations can be reopened?
Yeah, well, I don't know when negotiations were opened, and I cannot say whether they are closed or not, or they can be reopened. So all that within the realm of politics, within the realm of possibilities and speculations, because of course politics by its very nature is quite could be quite speculative as well. So I wouldn't hazard guess. And but of course, politicians talk. It's not a sin, I believe. You know, talking across lines, it's not a problem. So presidency or agents of the president or friends of the president talking to Kwankwaso or the other way around, I don't think that should be seen as anything strange or anything that should be looked with disdain or with any suspicion, because after all, it is politics, and people align, realign, and change allegiances, and also shift their political positions a lot of times for perhaps grander or more, you know, very higher callings or higher vision or higher ideals. So I wouldn't. So there is nothing strange about Kwankwaso talking to the APC or to the president, or the president talking to him. After all, you should know that there is a very long-standing relationship between the two. President Tinubu is somebody that has relationships dating back ages, because he's been in the game for a very long time. So both men were elected as members of the National Assembly during the botched transition of 1993. Of course, also, both of them were elected governors the same time in 1999. So they have had this long political association that you wouldn't see anything strange if they are now closing ranks or reuniting under any arrangement.
I'm happy there are no gloves up anywhere. There's a lot of decency in the conversation, but let's keep the politics. No matter how much you politicians want to pretend, politics has started.
Yes.
There's nothing anybody can say to the contrary, because the APC, for instance, they gathered at a national summit and endorsed the president. I think there's another endorsement coming up today, forgetting which part of the country. So, and then we see the ADC. So, but let's talk about the NMPP, and then I'll throw you back to Ms. Abdulaziz. So, I mean, like Ms. Auno has said, or someone has said that, look, Mr. Kwankwaso is going to run again for president. Is within his rights?
Yes.
But is it realistic? Why do politicians make what seem to be, I don't want to use the word unrealistic, because you're going to downplay ability here. But from a perception point of view, 1.4 million votes is what he garnered the last time. And then maybe perhaps now that Muhammadu Buhari is there, that dynamics will change even further. He hasn't made significant inroad beyond Kano, not even in the northeast. What makes him to hold his ground as to not to work with maybe a coalition, not necessarily ADC, to even give him a chance or a shot at the presidency? Because this looks like almost predictable, with the greatest sense of respect.
Well, the first thing is that, as I was saying earlier, that maybe Prince Onu knows that he's contesting based on the fact that he hasn't said anything, because that's a constant. And maybe I will say to you that I'm not sure he's contesting because he hasn't said anything, right? But that is the constant. He hasn't said, I'm contesting, or I'm not contesting, I'm talking to APC, or I'm talking to ADC. Nothing, right? There are consultations going on various places. And as I said before, when the time comes, we will come out and say, oh, this is what we're doing as a party, or this is what he's doing, you understand? But based on what you said earlier, you know, you say that he had 1-point-something million votes the last 2 years ago. You see, the issues that are at play that were at play in 2023, 22, 23, might not be the same issues in 2027, 26, 27. In fact, any political strategist will tell you that it might even be too early now, at the present moment, to say that this is the way things are going to go, this is the way things will be played. It might be too early, politically speaking. So, look, Buhari contested how many times? And when he was able to build bridges, I'm not even sure that he built the bridge. people went to him. You understand? So you do not know what is in the works, or the people who believe that a Kwankwaso in their midst or within the mix will help them achieve whatever they want to achieve. And when you say Kano, I will disagree with you. I always say I'm not from Kano. And there are many of us who are not from Kano. Prince Onu is from the east, he's from Ebonyi. You understand? There are many people. So when you say, oh, it's only Kano, Kano itself, even if we say it's only Kano, Kano itself is the equivalent of some 6 states.
They can't give him the presidency, that's a fact.
Hang on. No one, can Lagos, did Tinubu win Lagos? Can Lagos give anybody the presidency, or Rivers alone? You know? And we have the saying that, oh, if you can get Rivers, Kano, and Lagos, you'll be president. Tinubu, you understand, he didn't get the 3. So the dynamics keep changing. And I keep telling people that there is something that you must understand, and that is the fact that you do not know. We do not know. I do not know. Some might do, because why would Kwankwaso be a recurrent decimal if it is only Kano? That's a question. But some politicians know why, the reason why. You know, so that's it.
Well, very interesting angle there. You marketed him well without also marketing him at the same time. But Mr. Abdulaziz, I'll let you have the final one on this, because this is actually more about politics than infrastructure or whatever. At the heart of it, at least that's what a lot of people hear. It's about politics. And I wonder for you what kind of politics the president is planning to play. A lot of people have described him as a very brilliant politician. You never see him coming. In fact, a lot of people say one of his strengths is that you underestimate him and he finds a way to just surprise you. So what kind of politics is the president playing? But speak to us, more importantly, is it distracted by 2027 politics? Because for a lot of Nigerians, they don't want to hear about 2027. They want to hear about today and what is being done to make their lives better.
So first, let me start from that end. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I can tell you, is not distracted about 2027. He's not distracted with politics. He's squarely focused on governance, and that is evident in the sort of meetings he holds. I think if you want to know where someone else's mind is, have look at his preoccupations. So President Tinubu is preoccupied with governance. If you look at it, almost every day he holds meetings that have to do with the economy, that have to do with governance, that have to do with international cooperation, that have to do with investment. Less of politics, and so that tells you about his focus. But going back to your first question, or first part of the question, President Tinubu is, as I said earlier, is someone that has been around for long and has built networks and friendships over the years across the country in almost all parts of Nigeria. And that explains what people, when people wonder what's happening, is because he's been harvesting from his years of investment in friendships, investment in political and social networks across the country. And almost everything manifesting now is a product of those years. And also as a person, he is a consensus builder. He is a man of peace. He is somebody who believes in consensus building. He believes in talking to people. His doors are quite open. I tell people that perhaps I think I can't remember Nigeria having had a president as approachable as President Tinubu, because his network of friends and associates has remained largely intact, even in office, and he maintains direct and indirect communication with most of them, and that gives him hands-on regarding what's happening in the country, both in terms of social issues, in terms of economic, in terms of also politics. And this is also what is helping him, because a lot of these people who are decamping, you know, some politicians will come out and say, oh, the president or the federal government is coercing or luring members of the opposition into the APC fold. I can tell you that is not true, because, of course, I believe that politics is a game of it's like a chess game. It's a give and take a lot of times. But in this case, most of these people, especially governors and high-ranking politicians that are joining the APC, do that on account of the president's very, you know, approachable politics, very engaging relationship that he has, and also the fact that he, you know, he looks at people as individuals, as people, as representatives of their own people, not as members of political parties. And that is why today, whether you are a Labour Party state or NMPP state or PDP state, governors get equitable resources, equitable representation, and equitable opportunities. The president has demonstrated that, has done that to many states, irrespective of who the governor is. As he said one time, governance, I mean, politics, it's over. And for him now, what he sees is governance. And in governance, he doesn't see parties. He sees individuals. He sees leaders. He sees compatriots that should work with him to move Nigeria forward.
I think your points are well noted. You made your remarks. Thank you so much. We wish we had more time onto that debate. I would have taken you on a few things you said, but we're totally out of time. Ms. Abdulaziz is the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Prince Media. Joining us virtually, also Mr. Ladikbo Johnson is the NNPP National Publicity Secretary, who joined us right here in our Lagos studio. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming on the program. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get to that very conversation. It's controversial. The GMO issues. Do we really need all of that? Or we're just being GMO hesitant? What exactly is playing out here? We'll talk with the regulators and get their perspective as far as the issue of genetically modified organisms are concerned. Join us again.
Well, the genetically modified food conversation, debate, controversy just blew up social media last week. And yes, everybody has an opinion naturally, but what does science really say about this? There's a common sense bit, but what does science say? What does research have to say about this? And more importantly, what do the regulators say about this one? We're joined on the program by the Director General of the National Biosafety Management Agency, which is responsible for GMOs and other issues around biosafety. Dr. Agnes Sagbar joins us from our Abuja studio. Dr. Sagbar, good morning, and thank you for your time.
Yeah, good morning, and thank you for having me.
I can imagine how much questions, inquiries you've gotten about GMOs in the past few days, maybe months as well. So maybe start by telling us Nigeria's position when it comes to GMOs. I know there's a spectrum in that sense, but what is our own position as a country? What is the position of the NBMA when it comes to GMOs, consumption, planting GMOs, and all of that in Nigeria?
Thank you very much. NBMA, National Biosafety Management Agency, came into being with an act in 2015. And that means that the government realizes the importance of having the modern biotechnology to be regulated. And our mandate is to regulate modern biotechnology, thereby ensuring the safety of the Nigerian populace, the animals, the plants, and the environment. And therefore, we know that this is of essence. Biotechnology came into Nigeria in about 2003. by the then President Olusegun Obasanjo. And there was a need, it came up that there is a need to actually regulate the practice of modern biotechnology to ensure that the human populace, the environment, the rich biodiversity of Nigeria is not affected in any way. And over the years, we have been able to make sure that any GMO that has been approved in Nigeria has undergone rigorous scientific analysis. And these analyses, these are all under international standards. We have the Cartagena Protocol under the Convention for Biodiversity, and also we have to use the Codex Alimentarius, WHO standards. Amidst all this, and the Academy of Science, all these are plans, all these are regulations, all these are standards that have to be met before a GMO can be approved. And in Nigeria, it is not just NBMA that is involved in making sure that the GMOs that are approved are safe for human consumption. This makes us to have various stakeholders where we have some strategies where we have what we call the National Biosafety Committee, and then we have the National Biosafety Technical Committee. You know, these are committees that are set up where we have stakeholders. We have NAFDAC, which is in our technical committee, to check on the toxicology aspects, on the allergenicity of whatever it is, the GMO that has to be approved. And also, we have the Seed Council. We also have the Agricultural Council of Nigeria. We also have the customs. We also have the quarantine service. We have so many of them. Time will not avail me to mention all of them. All of us come together to assess the safety of a GMO before it's been approved. And we have been able to have commercial release of the BT cotton, BT cowpea, and teller maize. So all these have gone through rigorous experiments, has gone through rigorous risk assessments before NBMA released them for commercial release.
You know, but the real concern about GMOs is the use by farmers of Roundup, you know, to kill weeds, but the crops are resistant to it. And then there is that scientific concern also that Roundup contains a certain chemical, glyphosate, I believe, that is carcinogenic. So this regulation that you talk about, has it certified that the GMOs brought in or grown in Nigeria are free of this particular chemical that is also set to alter biodiversity?
You made a statement by saying that it kills weeds. No. When you're talking about the GMOs, it's the insertion of a gene to present a particular trait that probably is absent. For instance, for drought resistance, for insect infestation, it is not the killing of the weeds. In the case of GM, let's talk about PBR cowpea, for instance. It gets devastated. Farmers have huge losses when this Maruca insect attacks the PBR, the cowpea. And this gene has been brought in to be able to make sure that this insect is not able to attack it. and is able to grow during the drought. We know what happened quite recently about the climate change, and there was some drought, but those who planted the PBR cowpea did not experience this. And also, when you're talking about the weeds and things like that, it's usually in the case of GM. In the case of, let's say, the PBR, like I'm using as an example now, it does not make the farmer to spray insecticides. Probably the farmer might spray once or twice, but on the non-GM, the farmer might spray up to 7, 8, 10 times to be able to make sure that these infestations do not occur. And you ask us, is it better to have these insecticides, to have these pesticides being sprayed, and our cowpea is rejected all over the world? And you begin to ask yourself that, no, this has not been so. Like, we even had to go to Kano to make sure that, okay, after this PBR cowpea has been released, what is the post-release monitoring? We went for post-release monitoring. We found out that it didn't have any adverse effect. And also, you talked about the environment. It has been found that it does not affect the environment. And then we have what we call the non-target organisms. They are not affected. Research has gone through it. And there has even been Nigerians now who have been able to go and carry out research on the effect of GMO on the soil. And it has been found that it is not affecting the soil.
Mine is a very basic question, but I think it's deep for persons who have hesitancy. So I'll give context. Because of the perception and hesitancy, selling fridge in Alaska, that is the context. Snow, you don't need any form of refrigeration. Nature has already done its work. So that would be another level of marketing to sell refrigerators to people who already live in snow areas. Does Nigeria really need GMO? That's a question.
Okay, thank you very much. Nigeria actually needs GMO. Our food security. We cannot meet up our food requirements by the rural farming that we do. Even in advanced countries, GMO is being used. But I would like to say it's a matter of choice. Nobody forces anybody. There's a choice. But with our population, with what we see, we need to have GMOs. We need to have the GM seeds for planting by our farmers, and not planting of grains, but of seeds. And even in advanced countries, even just recently in the UK, they approved the importation, approved some grains to be brought into the country. If even advanced countries are still using GMO, and they even have some level of mechanized farming, then we are just trying. Thank God our president just is bringing up so many tractors for our farmers to use. Yes, with that and with the GM planting, then our farming would go places and we can be food secure.
You know, there's still a lot of division around GMs, that's genetically modified seed crops and the rest of foods generally. Even in Europe, yes, the UK is moving forward, but there's a lot of debate around it. And two things usually stick out, which I want you to speak to. A lot of people have called it food colonization because of replanting. It's been said that once you get a GMO seed to plant, you cannot replant you know, from that harvest. You have to go back to get that seed to plant. That's on the one hand. So I want you to speak to that because that is a major concern. What we're used to is, you know, you're planting, for example, your maize, and when you harvest, you just keep one, you know, husk, just, you know, get the seeds off, dry it, and replant. You don't have to rely on anyone. So that's on the one hand. Secondly, when you say the GMOs that have been approved already means a lot have been approved. So how much of what we eat currently is genetically modified? So everybody knows where we're at, because there's that assumption that, oh, okay, we're not eating anything genetically modified. Some have talked of bananas and the rest. So how much of what we eat today, some people who are eating right now, how much of it is genetically modified?
Yeah, thank you for your questions. Yeah, the sovereignty of the seeds. I would like to say that one of our mission as a regulatory agency is that some of these our developers who have brought in the seeds, we have insisted that yes, you have to make sure that the seeds are produced here in Nigeria. And the Seed Council, which has that mandate, is working extensively. We are in talks, we are in collaborations, we're there to see that we make sure that it must not always be brought in. And there are a lot of seed companies emerging. Now, we have about 3 that are very major and have started producing seeds in Nigeria. However, the seeds are not enough yet. So there's great efforts to make sure that these seeds are produced here in Nigeria. And we talk about seeds, we talk about GM. When we talk about the hybrids, you don't even replant hybrids. We see people even also selling seeds, not only GM seeds, but other people are selling seeds. So it is not something that we can say we are sold out or we are under bondage. And also, we make sure that we're on the seed companies to make sure through the Agricultural Seed Council, which has the mandate on seeds. And then the other thing you talked about, can you remind me, you talked about
the question is how much of what we eat today.
Or how much of what we eat today. Yes, how much of what we eat today. Well, that would bring me to the fact that there are some farmers who have purchased the PBR cowpea seeds, who have bought the teller maize seeds and have planted. And these are being monitored by another sister agency. What our duty is, first of all, making sure that the GM are safe for the human populace, the animals, the plants, and the environment. And we approve them, and it is sent out there for other agencies like the Agricultural Quarantine has to ensure that it is safe also. Then we have the varietal release committee that has to also work on it. So in that area, we have given the approval. We might not be able to say, okay, in figures, this is what. That is the duty of the Seed Council. And then when we're talking about what are the other people having to eat? Part of our mandate is to go to the supermarkets to make sure that any genetically modified product that comes into the country is labeled. So those ones that come from outside are being labeled. And presently, NAFDAC and NBMA were working on the labeling of manufacturers who use grains for their production, that is for processing, for feed. We are on that, and very soon we will be able to give you some of those companies and make sure that they actually stated that, yes, this cereal, this is made from GM grains.
Well, this is a conversation that we need to keep going, but we have to draw the curtains at this point because of time. But we need an assurance that you'll be joining us when next we call upon you to address some other concerns by Nigerians, because more questions are coming up, DG. But we have to thank you so much for being forthcoming, because Nigerians need clarity at this time, and it's important that we give them that clarity. You wanted to say something?
Please, can I just have a closing?
Yes,
I just want to have
seconds.
a closing statement.
Yes, please.
In NBMA, we want to assure the Nigerian populace that we carry out our work with integrity and transparency. And you're free to come to our office if you have questions. Our websites, we have given so much information. We have the risk assessment that we have done on all these crops. They are available. And one thing also that we do, because we know the importance of the Nigerian populace, without all of us, then there will be no Nigeria. And that is why we make sure that we do everything in accordance to international standards, and we do not compromise, because we all go to the same market, we all eat the same food. So definitely we have to do it right, and the federal government of Nigeria has our interest at heart.
Dr.
Thank you
Agnes
very much.
Asagbar, we have to thank you so much. She's the DG, National Biosafety Management Agency. Thank you for your time, and of course this is a conversation we'll be having in the coming days and weeks, but wish you the very best.
Thank you.
Well, there you have it. The questions are coming in, so we'll do a follow-up, promise, on this, because we're still sort of scratching the surface. But let's talk about some other issues that you've been speaking to, making the rounds. And I think the FCT minister's done steps after he bagged that honorary degree. Well, here's the first one that I'll be looking at. So take a look at it. So is this dance about the honorary degree of science, but the doctorate degree of science at the University of Port Harcourt?
I don't know.
Or about politics?
This is your classic Nyesom Wike.
This is a pepper them dance.
Yeah, it looks. I don't know what to interpret. The man is just happy. Actually, let's leave it at what it is.
He's been having a lot going his way lately.
Yeah, it's as Bukola just said, there's a lot working for him. He wanted a few things to happen in his state. Those things happen. And there are a couple of other things I can reel out. You know, Atiku has left the PDP.
You see, you're going to politics, I told you. This is not just about
I think he was also quite supportive of the University of Port Harcourt. And I think
of course, it was
an arena.
So
no, it's a federal university. He could choose not to, but he's in the state, so he chose to do what he has to do. So this is an honor that, you know, I don't know who may have said nobody's going to give him an honorary doctorate in that school, so perhaps he decided to say, okay, but let's move on from Years and Weekends Dance Step, which we have seen. We can make an entire album. In fact, I can put what do you call it, on a list on Spotify for Years and Weekends Dance Step. Let's go to this mixed reaction over name change. In Bariga LCDA, as announced by the chairman. I think this should be the outgoing chairman. I don't know whether he was re-elected, Honorable Kolade Alabi David. This has generated loads of controversy. So that's the chairman of the LCDA in Bariga, renaming some of the streets and then taking Elaje Road. I am familiar with the Bariga area. To King Sunny Ade, Bariga Road, to Bola Tinubu, Community Road, Akoka, to Babajide Sanwo-Olu Road. Then the big parts, one of the most controversial is the Charlie Boy bus stop changed to Bado bus stop in honor of Olamide. Olamide grew up in Bariga, so he's a Bariga boy. And I'm sure he gave some of his reasons. But this, guys, this has generated a lot of controversy. It started with, I think, Amodofin. Some streets were renamed, the ones that had people from the southeastern part of the country renamed to reflect the people that come from this part of the state. And that has generated a lot of controversy as to whether the Lagos state we know to be truly metropolitan is now beginning to toe a different line, although they have the powers by law to change any name to whatever it is. Mine is naming streets after politicians that have not done their work fully. The Bola Tinubu has just been president for 2 years. The fruition of his policies has not come to be yet. We're seeing upwards, but downward we've not seen it. All of this naming, Babajide Sanwo-Olu is in the second term, is not yet done. So that's just my own 2 cents on the matter. Kayode Bukola.
Well, perhaps the most controversial came through over the weekend with the renaming of Charlie Boy bus stop to Bado bus stop. And, you know, that got a lot of people talking. For a lot of us, we probably grew up knowing that particular bus stop as Charlie Boy bus stop. But as Jeffrey has said, the government has the powers, you know, to rename streets in line with you know, how they want it to be. But the question is, you know, the reasons informing this renaming. Some have even ascribed, you know, political reasons to the renaming of some of these streets. The question now is how soon and how well will the people, you know, get used to the new scheme of things. So I hope there will not be confusion.
There will be for a while.
People are from their bus stops and, you know, going with Charlie Boy bus stop, and it's no longer Charlie Boy but Bado bus stop, and of course all the other names as well. But
all right,
I guess the conversation continues.
There you have it. A lot to cover, but guess what? Sunrise Daily will give it some more mileage. It's going to be a packed show in a couple of minutes, and that's where we say goodbye for today. I'm Kayode Okikule.
And you know, the week is young. We'll be back again tomorrow. I am Bukola Koka.
And I'm Jeffrey Uzama. Enjoy your week. Bye-bye.